Yeah, I'm recording.
Let's see how long it goes.
But it's going fast. It's going so fast.
Well, that's seconds and then like milliseconds,
Okay.
so we'll see how it goes.
So why do you think social media is so addictive?
I think it's designed to be that way.
Mhm.
And so I try to explain it to my students. You know, as we're growing up, we learn to pay attention to the environment in particular ways. So, you know, one of the first things that very young children attend to is the sound of their mother's voice, because they know that when they hear their mother's voice, there's going to be some reward at the other end of it. But then they also know that there are these noises that we call orienting responses. So I'm going to make a noise, and don't be startled, but like if I go like this, that's an orienting response. So I do that with my students, and they're not paying attention. Then suddenly they pay attention.
Pop up, yeah.
Right. So with social media, you'll notice that they have all kinds of ways of getting you reoriented to the screen. So it could be that ping, or a tweet, or you know whatever the sound. Yeah. So whatever the sound is. And then it's also, of course, social media, the kind of, so this takes us out of the realm of addiction, but it brings us more into, you know, what is it that teenagers, so people your age and younger, what do you really care about? And it's very normal and we say developmentally appropriate for you to be caring about your friends. And there's lots of good kind of developmental reasons to move away from caring specifically about what your parents think of you, or what your teachers think about you, or what the other adults in your life think of you, to what your friends think of you. And social media really plays into that. So one of the things that we know about adolescence, and you may have grown out of this, and I know my daughter hasn't fully grown out of it, is that we walk around with what we call a imaginary audience.
Mm-hmm.
So before there was even such a thing as imaginary audience, actual audience from social media, there was this phenomenon where teenagers felt like whatever they were paying attention to, everybody else was paying attention to. So like, I don't like the way my hair looks today, therefore everybody's looking at my hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and that's really normal, because we've developed these, like, we call them metacognitive skills, these ways of thinking about our own thinking, mm-hmm. and then we think other people are thinking that.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah, it makes us very egocentric. So now we have this actual audience, and we're feeling like we're always being watched, but then we're also feeling like we're performing, and then we're also being those judgers of other people, and it just kind of ramps it up a little bit. So it takes a natural developmental process and kind of puts it on steroids, just makes it that much bigger. So it's normal that we would feel addicted to our social media, and normal that teens especially would feel that way. But I think the technology just makes it so much more. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I get it. I really get it. It don't seem like it, but I'm really interested. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Everything. Because that is so true. I be thinking other things. I'm like, oh, everybody else thinking this.
Yeah.
And all.
Yeah.
So.
And it's really normal to feel that way. And you know what? You grow out of it. Like, by the time you will. And you can't, like, try to. It just will happen. Mm-hmm. That one day you'll wake up and you'll be like, oh, I have 2 different colored socks on. You know, and, like, you don't think anybody else would notice, because it's, like, just becomes less important. You become less the center of the world, and you start, like, being more attentive to everything that happens around you. That'll happen, like, 3, 4, 5 years.
Okay. Next question. Why does social media tends to have so much critical effect on children's education, addiction, and their development, on their brain and behavior issues?
Well, I do think there's some pretty good evidence that our brains process information differently when it comes in through visuals than if it were to come in through paper. And that can be an okay thing, depending on the world that we're living in, but it can also be really hard if, so it's a good thing. We were having this debate in class the other day. So, all the emoticons that we attach to our communications, smiley faces, piles, poop, whatever, they they have a lot of meaning, right? Like just a little change in that smiley face, where the smile isn't fully, or there's a wink, or there's a lot of and that is really hard to decode. And so it means that we're calling on a part of our brains or ourselves or our knowledge that we never used to have to before those things occurred. But it also means that there are ways of communicating that are harder now, like for people who